I was reading one of slightly dated McKinsey report which said that only 60% of product managers actually have basic analytical skills.
Like 15-20 years ago, people used to say that you need to know Word, Excel, PowerPoint as a skill mandatory. Now it is assumed to be that ये तो आता ही होगा.
AI, everybody's talking about AI these days. What's your take on the impact of AI in product management or building products?
So to me, AI has impacts in two big areas. Jewelry as a sector is not an easy to sell online. Do you agree?
I agree.
Have you bought anything online on jewelry?
Very rare.
But have you explored online?
When we talk about product analytics, I think healthcare is one area where it has transformed big time.
Can you guess which is the biggest feature people use on smartwatch? And the answer will surprise you.
Personal branding is very, very critical for anybody's career. What would be your advice for people in this aspect?
So see, today what's happening is Naukri.com is not where middle management or upper management jobs are found. Okay, people discover you on.
Welcome to this episode of Product Talk with Malti. In today's episode, I'm in conversation with Saurabh Agarwal, who is the CEO and founder of DAiOM, which helps companies to grow Omnichannel with growth marketing and analytics. With a tech background, Saurabh is an analytics person at heart, and he has multiple credentials and feathers on his cap with some of the top 100 AI leaders in India. He is a top LinkedIn voice in digital marketing, and he is also one of the top coaches in career and AI and analytics. And yes, as you would have guessed with all these credentials, today we are deep diving into the topic of product analytics, and watch out for, is this a skill or can this be a career? Hey Saurabh, welcome to this episode. Thank you for joining us here today.
Thanks Malti, thanks for inviting.
Thank you. So talking about, Saurabh and I connected in a very interesting way. So I had this LinkedIn feed coming up where somebody from my connections had liked a post where he speaks about one of his interaction where he talks about that the biggest metric for a product manager is backlog completion. So that actually got me very intrigued, and I reached out to Saurabh, and that's how we connected. So Saurabh, let's start with that, right? When you were writing that, you had that interaction and you put that post, what was on your mind? Can you elaborate on that?
So Malti, I am very intrigued by what metrics people track and what's the goal they are chasing. So what people are chasing with their health goals, what people are chasing in their corporate, what are different roles chasing the goals. And today every company is trying to build a product-led experience for customers. And the product is being driven by product managers. And I had the opportunity to work with a lot of digital native companies, and product managers have been my best friend and enemies. So when I used to interact with them and I used to check how the analytics is going and how are we doing it, and I used to get frustrated that they are always having so much to do and the analytics always used to go last. And then I used to say, what is the success? They used to say, we did 2 releases, we launched these features and that and this. So they're always catching up. And while product managers are the smartest people who understand, who navigate, who are analytical, not driven by them, but because of the situation, they end up chasing backlog completion. Whereas the success of a product is not having more features. Had that been the case, iPhone would have never been so big.
Right.
And Xiaomi has 1,000 features more than an iPhone. So it's not the features which makes the product win.
Right. Yeah, and it's always very elusive, right? So that is exactly what we are going to do a deep dive on. And I really want to kind of double down on one thing that you said, right? That you've been working with product managers and it has been so difficult to make them understand about the whole analytics and metrics part of things, right? So if we step back a little bit, Saurabh, you yourself have background in tech, then you moved into marketing, and you've worked with growth marketing. Retention has been one of your bigger KPIs, right? You have worked with large companies and Indian conglomerates, and then you did startup with Lenskart, and now you have started your own consulting firm. Just walk us through a little journey, and also would be very interested to know the, I would say the crossroads of tech, marketing, how did analytics, how did all that happen?
My first job was mostly into tech, doing coding in Java and mainframes in fact. And I left my job because I got into mainframes. And from there I went into doing coding to databases. So somehow I felt love with numbers. Maybe my baniya khoon is coming out ki the numbers is something which attracts me. So I saw that many people do tech, a lot of data gets generated, but if you use data well, you can improve the experience. So that's where my introduction to analytics started. And I landed up in a good job with American Express, where I learned a lot of applying data for analytics and mostly for marketing. And their retention analytics and all happened. And I spent about a decade plus with Amex. So I learned a lot of sophisticated analytics being done there. From there, it happened that I moved, like I was done with working for US sitting in India, and I was very clear in my head that I don't want to go to US. So I said India is like the buzzing space and Jio was about to launch. So I said I want to get into an Indian market company, but I want a safe job. So somewhere Tata Group wanted to launch an analytics firm, and I was fortunate to join the founding team, and I got an opportunity to work with every company in the Tata Group, whether it is salt, software, insurance, agriculture, steel, motors, everyone. So, but I realized working with functional people is very interesting because you can make an impact very high. And then I had a good stint with a company called Motherson Sumi, and then Lenskart happened because I had an experience both with consumer side and the manufacturing side. So Lenskart was a very path-breaking experience for me because I was applying analytics for business and I was more on the business side. There was no boundary between that you are tech, you are analytics, you are business. There was no boundaries like that. So my analytical power became my growth for being a better business person. And that's where this whole thing came in together. And then I thought, why to work only with one company? Can I do it with multiple companies? And 15 months ago, I started my own consulting in this area. It didn't happen at the last moment. I was thinking for 5-6 years. That's another subject to talk about.
Yeah. So now you have that superpower of, using data analytics and powering other brands and other organizations to be able to make better decisions and make better product experiences. Yeah, amazing. And, as the technology is kind of evolving, I think especially for digital products, and we'll come to the Omnichannel part of things, which very interesting is also part of your consulting gig. The point is that the data and analytics is becoming core to the product function, right? But I was reading one of slightly dated McKinsey report which said that only 60% of product managers actually have basic analytical skills, right? Now with this whole, with AI and all these transformations, how do you see it? Do you see that analytical skills for product managers, is that a skill or is that a full-blown career itself?
So let's look at how the product landscape has evolved. So the first journey of product landscape was to build the product, core product. Okay, so the Amazons, Flipkarts of the product got launched, that it's more functional. The next is then you have to do a lot of incremental improvements. You have to launch a lot of features which are like very, very small thing. How do we do the bottom nav or the navigation? How do we do the PLP, PDP? How do we do the conversion funnel? All of those things have to be done slowly and steadily. Now, which are the ones you have to do is where the analysis comes in and which is working. Now, had you asked me this question 5 years ago, whether product analytics is a skill or a career, my answer would be career. But today, I think so doing analytics has become much simpler with the advent of cloud, with the advent of lot of tools, and now with AI coming in, the ability to do analytics is much simpler and it is transitioning to becoming a skill. If I have to draw an analogy, earlier, like 15-20 years ago, people used to say that you need to know Word, Excel, PowerPoint as a skill mandatory. Now it is assumed to be that ye to aata hi hoga.
Yeah, nobody writes it.
So now it's on the second phase that it was a skill, it was a career earlier, now it is becoming a skill. Now later it will be assumed to be like as the mainstream skill. Now if you see, there are different types of product managers. Product managers in say top matured product companies like Amazon, Flipkart, companies which are having like gaming companies, if you look at product managers, they are very much analytically powered. I don't think so they lack analytical skills. They have the skills, but are they putting it to use is the thing. India has about 1 lakh plus product managers in that range, but most of them are from good tier engineering institutes or MBA institutes. So they have that analytical skill. But do they have the analytics tool set and the bandwidth to do or focus is the challenge I see. Now, my debate with them in some companies have been is when they are releasing a feature, to measure that the feature is used or not used and is successful, sometimes gets dropped for the sake of speed. But when you go for an Amazon or a Flipkart or all these mature companies, the product manager starts with, okay, our goal is to improve conversion rate. We will capture this feature more. They will have the success metric as the objective, and from there they will build the feature. So they cannot miss that thing. Most of the times you are just building the feature. So maybe it's also as the product becomes much more mature, you are able to figure out that having the ability to measure success is becoming a feature itself.
No, I agree. And I mean, if I look back in my own journey, my first product, which was the SAP product, right? I don't think in the first 2 years we really did anything beyond, let's say, do a survey for NPS or for our customer satisfaction score. From a feature adoption perspective and all, that was not, I mean, it was very qualitative survey or qualitative feedback, what is coming through our tickets, or what is when I'm talking to customer or as part of our executive council, right? There was nothing like a leading indicator which was telling us how the usage is happening, how adoption is happening, right? Or which customer is spending how much time on one screen or versus another flow. Versus today, I think you're right. And I think with the whole simplicity that even a product manager can use any tool to start deriving insights out of the data that they are sitting on, I think it is becoming a even core skill for a product manager.
So if you see, I must have worked with about 50, 60 product managers in different companies. So I see people who are MBAs who come into product management, who might be doing more of project management. Then there are people from tech who have good communication skills, or they go and do an MBA, they want to come into product management. And then the third, I'm seeing a big set of people from analytics who are coming into product management. So people who have process management, product management, analytics and tech. If you have a decent balance of at least 2 or 3 of them, these are the ones who will become the CPOs of the world.
I agree. I mean, as a product manager, you need to have a flair for these multiple facets of a product. Yeah. So in the last 10 years, for example, you took a bunch of B2C examples, and one of the things which has been very core to many of the B2C products is product-led motion, right? And this is one area which is extremely cross-functional, where you also have a lot of marketing coming in, there is a lot of product analytics coming in. And what I see is that especially somebody who's newly getting into it is like thoroughly confused in terms of what is product analytics versus what is marketing analytics. Can you do a little bit of double down on that?
So the way I say is product analytics versus marketing analytics, it is like an elephant, which is called digital analytics. If a product manager looks at it, he calls it product analytics. If a marketing person looks at it, he says it's marketing analytics. But the core of it is the digital analytics to understand who is coming to your website or app, how they are traversing, how they are converting, how they are repeating. So the fundamentals, and in fact the tools are also same for this, but the objective is a little bit different. The objective of a marketing person is to get traffic, is to build visibility and get it into the system, not even just get traffic, get relevant traffic who might be the ICP or the profile for the product. The job of a product analytics guy is to see, once the traffic is there, is the conversion happening and how is the customer navigating it. Now, the role of a product analytics becomes much more different in a non-e-commerce company. In an e-commerce company, it's more of a transaction. You come, buy, go, thank you, repeat. But when you are a usage-driven or a productivity app, the product analytics need becomes much, much higher. Or say a stockbroking app, or say Spotify. So Spotify may be like he has to use it every day. So he will always work on how does it work. But for a company like D2C company, product analytics is not much needed because it's more of a transaction. You are a Shopify stuff. So product analytics, so somebody who says, I only know product analytics, I don't know marketing analytics, it's not true. And people come from different backgrounds. If you just come from product background, it will not be very great. You have to understand a little bit tech, you have to understand a little bit marketing, and then you have to collaborate, teach each other stuff, and then it works beautifully.
Yeah, no, I agree. And because I've seen, okay, once you have landed in this website, my job is done. From here, you take over. I have personally
It's
seen.
easy to get, in India, it's easy to get traffic.
Right.
You run a free offer, something, you'll get millions of traffic.
Correct.
But is it relevant?
Yeah. And as you rightly said, right, ki journey breakdown nahi honi chahiye. If I'm clicking on something, am I really landing there or not? I think those are the, could become the weaker areas.
Yeah. I'll give you one other example. Okay, so product, say especially in e-commerce, because I work with them, cataloging is a very central part. So in cataloging, you have to upload the cataloging into Google Merchant Center. Okay, so that is also a tech part. If that cataloging sync is not working well, so Google, when somebody is searching, say t-shirts, you will not see your t-shirt well. So that sync has to work well. The offers has to come from the marketing team. So your SEO, your this, all these things are so interrelated.
Correct.
So it cannot exist in isolation. So I definitely say a good product manager is who understands marketing well.
Exactly, including your content marketing, like the SEO part, right? Whatever for example, if I'm a job description portal, all the JD that I have put in, is it being searched relevant when somebody is looking for a job? Is it bubbling up? Because only then you take it to the relevant job portal and make the customer apply or register for it.
Yes.
Right. So do you have any recommendation on resources that people can look at or refer to for improving their product analytics or marketing analytics?
So see, one is you can learn from the tools. So you can start with a tool that there are these top tier tools, which is like Adobe Analytics, Google Analytics, then product analytics tools are Mixpanel, Amplitude. They have very good information of how you can use the tool. Then there are experts who talk about it. I also host master classes on marketing analytics and product analytics. If somebody is interested, they can definitely express interest and we can host something for them.
Sure.
So yeah, there is a lot of, like, one has to be more curious to learn, and what I see is learning from books versus learning from people who have done, that's more faster to learn.
It's much faster. I mean, personally for me, if you ask me, most of my experience had been more B2B, of course, some amount of B2C, but I think in the last 2.5 years working with the B2C product and the very deep intertwining of one working others and the impact they can have on each other has been a huge learning curve personally for me. So I completely resonate with what you're saying. Now, I want to come a little bit more closer, the B2C part of things, right? For example, I see you are wearing a ultra-human wearable. I use my smartwatch. So when we talk about product analytics, I think healthcare is one area where it has transformed big time, right? I mean, we are looking at the tons and tons of data of our users, these things, right? How do you think a product manager can leverage on it? How does this helps product manager to make better decisions?
So yeah, that's a very interesting question. Tell me one thing, how long have you been wearing this watch?
2 years now.
Is it making you healthy?
No, but it definitely tells me how am I doing in terms of my overall fitness level. There are times when I'm not doing anything. There are times when I'm kind of operating. So I would say this is more like my accounting partner.
Yeah. So see,
accountability partner, sorry.
So product analytics is very similar to your smartwatch. It helps you tell what's happening. It will not make you better. So if you don't read your data, you will not get better. So one joke I keep telling my friends is every morning I wake up and I see that I failed in my sleep.
Okay, what does that mean?
So it means like I'm tracking my sleep score every day and I realize that I didn't have enough sleep.
Ah, okay.
So, but see, product analytics is something which people monitor how the product is going. In two sectors especially, healthcare and in stocks, is where the analytics is a feature itself and which is the core feature. If you see all this thing, we are monitoring our KPIs, we are monitoring steps, we are monitoring BP, we are monitoring heart rate, we are monitoring sleep quality, 50 metrics we are monitoring.
Correct.
So it has become feature. Now what has happened is when the smartwatch is launched, it launched like a smartphone. It had everything. Then they started cutting, acha, you don't need this, don't need camera, you don't need WhatsApp, you don't need calls, you don't need this. And there is an interesting thing. I met a founder of a smartwatch company, one of the biggest ones. I cannot name him. So he asked me, Saurabh, can you guess which is the biggest feature people use on smartwatch?
Okay.
What's that people do mostly on the smartwatch? Can you guess?
I mean, for me, it's more about beyond looking at time, it's more about how am I, like typically when I'm going for my walk or
How many
before I
steps,
steps and those, that's
yeah.
my biggest use case.
And the answer will surprise you. It was changing watch faces.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So they were focusing on double downing on earlier on to add more accuracy, to add more KPIs, to add more dashboards, to add new types of pie charts and bar charts and this. But he said people want to only change watch faces. And they doubled down on, like, they had 1,000 smart faces, and Republic Day पे 2 नए smart faces वो आ जाएंगे, कुछ आ जाएगा. So they keep on doubling down and say we have the largest library of smart watch faces.
Oh, okay, very interesting. In fact, my niece loved to use those digital avatars which we have on the phone. She loves to play around with that.
Yeah.
So.
And my son also does the same with my wife's watch. वो आएगा ऐसे change करके मम्मा करके change कर देगा. And she's like, अब क्या हो गया ये?
Right.
So, and that's the power of product analytics. Like if you look at the data properly, your biases will be broken. Now, what's happening in the smartwatch or this ring area is the interface is evolving and it is becoming simpler, and this has no interface. If you see Whoop, okay, Whoop is very famous. It does not have an interface. It's just a band. So the interface is your app. And how easily you make it and you help with the nuggets. You're not just telling data. Like in this, it comes out that, okay, your sleep quality has deteriorated. Make sure you catch up on your resting sleep. Your steps have reduced, so you have to go on your cardio. So it's also not just showing the data कि मेरे steps हो गए, good है, bad है, you decide, I don't care about it. So how do you make the customer do micro actions with your daily habits to do better? So in fact, to me, the form factor on your wrist is better than on your ring because this is lesser. What I loved is when I switched from the watch to the ring is now I don't see even time. So I can go timeless. I get late into my meetings, but I'm able to do more deep work. Otherwise, sometimes बैठ के ना खेलने शुरू कर देते हैं. So
that's a very different way of looking at it. Yeah, and yeah, I mean, I love the part that you're talking about that, you know, the more deeper, and I think this example of smartwatch which you took out is a kind of a example that why we need to go look more deeper and try to understand what our customers are using our product for.
Yeah, I'll tell you another example. So I was talking to one company and we were talking about possibilities of analytics, and they said ki we are already doing analytics, but we are not doing it well. So I said, why do you say so? So then he gave me an example. So they were selling t-shirts and they said, and we hired a BI analyst who used to look at data dashboards. One day he came and I told him every week you have to share me one insight which can help us improve something. So he came back and told me, sir, this brand, this style ka red t-shirt is selling a lot. And then we looked at the sell-through rate and all, and I realized it. And then we ordered 5x amount of that red t-shirt. Okay. 1 week happened, second week happened. He was hiding his face. Then I called him, ki yaar kya hua wo red t-shirt ka, how is it selling? Then he said, rather than increasing, it has fell down. And then I said, hua kya hai? We had a huddle. We called in multiple people and they were not able to figure out. Then they said, okay, let's call up the merchandising head. Then he shared a very interesting insight कि sir क्या हुआ था कि red, white, black. So red and the white and black used to sell very big. They became out of stock. So the red started selling. After 1 week, white and black were in stock. So people stopped buying red.
Oh, okay.
So what it tells is you are only looking at the sell-through rate or the sales of one product, but you're not looking at what's happening to the other categories. And you're not looking at inventory. People only look at sales. 90% companies are focused on the sales as the primary metric, but inventory is a very tough thing.
Right.
And you can make a lot of mistakes by not looking at the full picture.
Right. Oh, that's a beautiful example, right? I mean, you need to look at the larger context than just looking at these metrics in silos. For example, in my class, one of the things I always do is that when you're putting in something, also make sure you are also tracking the counter metrics, for example. That because you have done that, is it kind of hitting somewhere else in that particular context or in that journey? Right? So yeah, that's a brilliant example. And with that, I probably want to get into a little bit more deeper in your company, which is called as DAiOM. Interestingly, I love the connotation that you have data, AI, and omnichannel, right? And so how do you help companies and what sectors are you focusing on?
So I'll go with why did I start it. So as I was working at different companies in the past, I saw that there's a use of data, and omni-channel growth is a very complex thing which people have not yet figured out. People have figured out online to online growth and offline to offline growth. But the customer journey is very convoluted today. So people might go into a store, open up their app, check the prices, and then decide where to buy from. So that journey is very complex, and offline data is very less available. But the customer is moving omni-channel. He might go to marketplace and this. While working in the past 4-5 years, I have seen that change happening, and I've kind of developed that niche. So while I understand online analytics, offline analytics, we have developed some good playbooks for omni-channel analytics. But I realized that if I go and sell I can do analytics, I'll be another me too. There are thousands of companies doing analytics, and they are like much bigger. But I said, why don't I work with brands to help improve their growth using omni-channel? And analytics is my superpower. I'll help execute campaigns, whether I use a KNN model, or I use an Excel, or I just use a percentage. That's up to me. So I will not obsess about the technique, I'll obsess about the outcome. And that has been so far working well. I have the opportunity to work with very big brands and very interesting brands which have been featured in Shark Tank, who are like 10,000 crore plus, B2B, B2C, medical. In fact, a lot of the brands which I'm these days working on are related to women, like jewelry, kurtis, fashion. So I'm learning a lot. That was a category I never used to touch. I never used to go shopping with my wife. Now she's liking it because कि अब मुझे test order करना है, तो I'm placing a lot of those things. But it's a good learning. So more than the techniques, I'm learning the context, and in small time we have achieved some good testimonials.
So Saurabh, you're also very vocal on social media. You write a lot. You've built a thought leadership, and you have a great personal brand out there, right? So what? And I do personally believe that personal branding is very, very critical for anybody's career. What would be your advice for people in this aspect?
So, few days back, I was interviewing for a data scientist role, and Python is a key skill for data science. So I got a CV. I was looking at the CV, and it was a long CV, 2 pages, and it was written all that he has done machine learning, Python. He has self-rated himself very well. And there was the LinkedIn link. So I went and clicked on it, and I opened up LinkedIn, and I saw that it was written web developer Python. So which one do you think is true? That he is a Python developer for web or for machine learning?
Oh, like that. I would say whatever is written in resume should be more relevant.
But do you think he can fake it up in the public?
Yeah, tricky.
So it's highly likelihood that he is a Python developer, but for web, wanting to get into machine learning. So see, today what's happening is Naukri.com is not where middle management or upper management jobs are found. Okay, people discover you on social media, and LinkedIn is the new resume. It's a resume. The problem in resumes is you cannot fit in a lot of information. But in LinkedIn, the beauty is you can have your image, you can have your about, you can have lines about your thing, you can have testimonials, you can have your voice opinion, you can put your certificates, awards, all of those. So in fact, a 50-page resume can fit in LinkedIn seamlessly. But it cannot be done overnight. कल मेरा interview है, आज CV बन रहा है. वैसे LinkedIn will not work. And I've seen LinkedIn has worked well for me because I started much earlier, but I slowly built my organic traffic onto it. I started expressing my thoughts, what I learned. I am a very introverted person. If I go into a conference, I'll not talk to 50 people. But what I've developed myself is I can express myself, and it has worked beautifully when I started my own journey. In fact, every time I do a project, somebody offers me a job into it. But many of my projects get discovered because I've written a topic on LinkedIn. Say, few days back, I wrote about the importance of retention marketing, and a founder liked it. And then I DM'd him that, what did you like about it? He said, I'm also a strong believer into it. Can you help me with it? So I got a project from there. So people are now discovering jobs in it. And especially if you're looking for a job above 50 lakhs, you have to build your social profile and do personal branding. You have to be yourself. Don't need to overdo. I'll honestly tell you, I have done all the LinkedIn courses available for the last 1 year. I might have spent 2 lakh rupees. If you're interested, happy to share my best practice on it. But LinkedIn is your new resume, and it cannot be done overnight.
Yeah. No, I think it'll be First of all, very, very well said. And I think if you could share the link with me of the courses that you have done, I will put it out along with the YouTube post. The second thing I really want to say, the topic which you said, right? If you are earning more than 50 lakhs, that means you are already in your middle management, right? And believe me, as you said, people want to see that what do you have to offer beyond what you have been told to do in the job, right?
Yeah.
And especially the whole product ecosystem where you work, where you are at a crossroads of such a cross-functional this thing, communication is very key, right? And I think LinkedIn gives you another medium to do that communication, especially with your verbal communication. How well with clarity are you able to translate of your thoughts, your voice into that, 100 words of LinkedIn post. I do think that if you are able to think clearly, you will be able to write clearly only when you are able to think clearly.
And see, writing is a process.
Exactly.
The more you write, the better you will be able to think.
Correct.
And you talked about content. Okay, so there are 3 types of content on LinkedIn. One is content about you, which is your profile. You can post that I won this award, I went visited there. That's all about. People will come, clap and go. But if you post it every other day, nobody will start looking at it.
Right.
But the other way people misguide themselves is that they are always looking for a job. But if you contribute your thoughts and value, that is where you will get noticed and get distribution.
Right.
So you have to add value, not extract value.
I agree.
Extraction value will come in like once in a year.
Right.
But not every day.
I do see that the posts which do really, really well are the one which are list of resources. I don't know how much of they have themselves used it, but there are tons of people who will always repost or take it from another post and put it out there. So they have seen, but yeah, I agree. Adding genuine, authentic thoughts, whether it is in the form of interacting with somebody else's content or putting your own content out. And believe me, most of the people don't do it because they are just so fearing about what will other people think. Will people judge me on that? That is the biggest thing that's holding them back.
And see, in India, LinkedIn has about 1.1 billion MAU, and about 300k from US and about 300k from India. So 30 crores from India. So every person who is in a job, who is in the senior position is there. He might not be posting, but most of them are observing. Right. So if you want to get noticed, want to connect at any levels, you can do it. And when you send a connection, they will come and look, what are you doing? So it's a public profile. Right. So you better maintain it.
No, very well said. And if you're not doing it, then it's your loss. So Saurabh, what is a difference between a multi-channel and an omni-channel? And what do you think are some of the a great set of examples of brands who have been able to make these transitions and I would say even convergence successfully?
So see, multi-channel is like you are working on multiple channels. And omni-channel is where you are unifying the experience. Okay, so omni-channel and multi-channel are looked at, mostly people think that it's all about omni-channel marketing. But I look at omni-channel as 3 things. One is sales, which is like you are available to sell on marketplaces, online, offline, call centers. Okay, so it's like you can buy from any of the channels, which is the sales part of it. The second is marketing part of omni-channel, which is I'm doing marketing on TV, OTT, Facebook, Google, WhatsApp marketing. All of those are different channels of marketing. And the third, which is very important, most brands miss on this, is service. So I buy online and I have service offline, or I buy from marketplace. Earlier, if you remember, when TV started selling online, people used to say Samsung or LG ki you have bought it from online marketplace, somebody from Thailand has bought the TV, so we will not give you that service. So what it does is, it does not impact the channel, it impacts the brand. So customers today treat the brand as omni-channel, but are companies treating their customers as omni-channel is a problem. The other challenge which I see is companies have siloed channels. They will say, Acha, I am working for online, I am working for offline. Now, coming on to brands which I really like, so I look at companies who started online who went into offline, and companies who started offline who went into online. So online to offline, offline to online, so which is called an O2O strategy. So definitely I would take Lenskart as an example because I'm very biased, spending a lot of time. But one company which I really admire is CaratLane. Jewelry as a sector is not an easy to sell online. Do you agree?
I agree.
Have you bought anything online on jewelry?
Very rare.
But have you explored online?
I have explored online, but I think for me, jewelry is again something which I need to feel. For example, the size of the stone, or the fitment of the ring, how it looks on me, for example, right? Which I feel online, when you look at it, it is good for me to look at a lot of things at the same time, compare and stuff like that. But I think I would prefer to probably put it on save or shortlist somewhere, and then go to a physical store and actually try it out there, and then decide.
So that's what has happened in different types of products which have been sold online. It started with books. Books are the most, it's guaranteed the same book is coming. Okay, so you don't need to touch and feel a book or paper. You just get it in 2 days, fastest, cheapest, you want to get it. Then it went into electronics or accessories, and then every day, then clothes. Clothes also has a size and fitment problem, and the fabric also is a challenge, especially if you go 2,000 rupees above. So selling anything less than 3,000, 4,000 is easier online. As soon as you cross a 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 mark, it's almost impossible to sell online. But the influence happens online. So people will go check the designs, and then they want to say, okay, I want to go and try this design in a store. So that's where CaratLane did it beautifully, that they have even synced up their inventory. So if you go and say, okay, I want to buy this ring and this size, it will show you that it is available in, say, Jayanagar store near you. You can go and check it. You can reserve it and then go. Or even they will sell somebody to your home.
Correct.
So to me, they have done the most complex tech implementation of that omni-channel journey.
Right.
In fact, it's a good product management use case, how they have built an omni-channel journey for users. So that's a great example which I say in jewelry CaratLane has done. And I have spoken to many founders in the jewelry space. Everyone obsesses कि यार मुझे CaratLane जैसा कुछ करना है.
Yeah, so, no, that is very interesting. But that also reminds me that it definitely makes the product journey much more complex, right? So I mean, especially since you're working on this omni-channel experiences part of it, right? So how can a product manager kind of get more insight around a customer's journey and translate that physical, the whole aspect we talked about between decision making from offline to online? What would be some of the things that a product manager needs to keep in mind while thinking through that product journey?
That's an interesting question. See, so most of the product managers I have met have been managing digital products. Launching an app, launching a website, creating new features, micro features. But they have not entered the physical product world.
Okay. Digital, we call it.
Yeah, whatever. So how do you, so he has to understand how the customer is moving and what is happening there. How do we get an appointment booking thing done? How do we make sure the store inventory is synced up? So you have to go into the customer's mind and try it out. And that is where I see that product managers who work with the product company in the location of the customer, they get that kick. So you have to experience, go to the store, see how can I get more people to the stores. People are visiting my website. How can I put the nugget that website mein to try kiya, add to cart karke chhod diya, but how do I push him to go into the store now? Cannot find, get him a call. How do I help him book an appointment? Because in jewelry, the problem is jewelry stores are always filled, especially the top ones. Tanishq, Kalyan Jewelers, they always insist ki appointment booking kar loge, so I'll be able to assign a person to you. So those micro journeys have to be built, and they have to think that how do you build a feature, derive a feature out of it. So the journey is becoming complex, and you can insert the digital play into it very well.
To reduce that friction and for them to enable to take that to take that next step.
So in fact, I would say product managers need to learn social media, because if they know what to put the CTA and where should they land and what should they see, where in the app should they land, because app has 15,000 pages, so where should they land and are they landing it correctly?
Yeah, I think you should take a masterclass in doing this omni-channel product journeys. I think that will be, because as you said, right, I mean, these physical versus online, these things are kind of getting more blurred. Right, omni-channel is the way to go, whether it is a Walmart which has gone from a brick and mortar to an online, or as we spoke about, even look at in EdTech, right, physics wala or Byju's, they all realized that post-COVID, people are going back to there and they ended up opening centers. So the way I see is that this is kind of becoming more blurred. So a product manager needs to wear. So I think it will be great for people to have a masterclass from you. You should
sure. We can plan something in the next 2-3 weeks. Once the podcast goes live, we will put a link to sign up.
Sure. Yep. So watch it out. Watch out for that. All right. So, and following up on this, do you think, I mean, AI, everybody's talking about AI these days. What's your take on the impact of AI in product management or building products?
So to me, AI has impacts in two big areas. One is on content, which impacts marketing. It started with text, then images, now video. Video, it will take time, but it is very much talked about. And second is in tech, where coding is getting better at. Okay. So the first impacts marketing, the second impacts product. Okay. So, and I'll tell you an incident of a friend. So he used to be a product manager at Tata's, and he recently won a AI hackathon where he created a fully functional weather app in 10 minutes. He was given the problem statement to create a app, and this is like 6 months ago. So, and he coded it, and he didn't know any coding. So he did everything from design, UX, API, optimization, hosting, everything just by prompting. And using the earlier version, not the version of 4.0s or something, doing it. So a product manager can become a super person by applying this. But what I feel is, we are not, most of the product companies are using AI to accelerate the processes in between. So it's like if I have to go from Gurgaon to Bangalore, I take a cab, then I take a bus, then I take a train to one place, then I take another train to another place, then I do this, then I do this, and after 7 days I reach. And I'm accelerating every step. Then also I'll reach in 3 days. So if I have to say what is happening today, the traditional product management steps are, you create specs, so you use ChatGPT to create specs. Then you create notes, you use ChatGPT to create. Then you create a presentation, you do this something. Then you build a UI, that person is using it. But if somebody is reimagining the entire process and saying that I will do everything, and if that person can do in 10 minutes, I think so rapid prototyping can be done in a day.
Correct.
So you have to reimagine the process so that you are not taking 10 buses and cars and scooters. You build an aeroplane to come from there to here. Most of the product management starts with features and tech. That's it. But in AI, the problem is the biggest cost is not people. The biggest cost is the cost of AI. Okay, the calls you are making, this thing. So you have to keep optimizing that. And so you are charging, say, $30 or $20 per user per month. And how much is its usage to us, that costing? So you have to constantly do it. So that becomes the most highest priority, that your economics of the product is very viable. So one has to reimagine a lot of how you do AI. And there's a lot of product analytics involved in doing it.
Right. No, I think very well. So because the fundamental product development life cycle within a traditional product versus a AI products is very different. So that is why this entire, first of all, the mindset has to change, the way we do product management. As you said, the process has to be reimagined.
Yeah. And I would say that it starts with self. Okay. So I introduced one of these AI tech tools, product tools to my younger son. He's a 10-year-old. He said, "Chal Advait, kuch game banate hain." Then he went ki acha, okay. He started building this thing, a Flappy Bird. Okay, so first he added the Flappy Bird, फिर वो bird ऊपर नीचे जा रहा है. I don't know if you know about Flappy Bird. Flappy Bird was one of the most viral games.
Okay.
And it took internet by storm. It had like 100 million plus downloads in 3 days. The creator then brought it down because it used to end in 3-4 seconds, and people used to go crazy, clicking. So then he shut down the game, but a lot of replicas came out of it.
Okay.
So my son started building. I told him ki Flappy Bird banao. He loved it, and then he started adding features. Ye feature, color, wo. Then he said ki Iron Man ko karate hain, ye karate hain. So the speed at which you think and you develop, you don't need to create a feature list. You just throw it and you develop it and you build it.
Correct.
So my advice is, whosoever is a product manager, put your hands to do a passion project at side and then apply that learning.
Yeah. No, I think now we are on product management on steroids, if I have to say that. And any last minute, because you are also a professor of practice at ISB, you teach digital marketing over there. So I think you already spoke about that product manager needs to know social media, they need to know tech, they need to know analytics, anything beyond that for aspiring PMs.
So, see, more than what they should learn, I think so. And you also teach at multiple colleges, including Master Union and prestigious colleges. I found when I started teaching, I thought कि मुझे marketing analytics आती है, मैं जाके सिखा दूंगा. So, but I realized when I had to create the course, I realized that I only knew 10-15% of it. And then I had to put all things together. So my process of teaching taught me a lot of my field, plus also it helped me improve my communication. So I would definitely suggest people to take up teaching, whatever they are passionate about, take a master class, teach something, because you will get better at yourself.
Doing versus teaching are very, very different things.
Because it puts you at a pedestal where you
Correct.
have to be knowing everything.
I agree with you. In fact, one of the things which a lot of especially, let's say, more seasoned people who want to kind of build their thought leadership, one of the things which I tell them is that pick up a topic you are not comfortable with, because that will put the fear of I need to make sure that I know everything as much as I can do, right? So you double down on your efforts to reading about it, doing things before you go and deliver it, right? So completely agree with you that when you and you need to put it in a manner, for example, where you can teach somebody who's a beginner, right? Because you might have spent a few years doing that, but packaging it in a way where you can teach it to somebody who is a beginner is a much bigger task than actually doing it.
Yeah. And today, see, the theory is available everywhere. Okay,
Right.
It's available on YouTube, it's available on ChatGPT. So there is a lot of content available. What my biggest learning is, rather than teaching the topic, tell examples.
Yeah.
Okay, and people will derive the message from it.
That's the way I do it. And in the last 50 minutes, I have seen you have had, like, for every second sentence, you have been able to come up with an example, and I'm sure that has been brilliant. People have will find a lot of correlation, saying that, okay, yes, I have used this, I have used that. So yeah, that's a great way of teaching. All right.
So I have two questions for you, Malti.
Okay.
So it's been 1 year you have launched this podcast. So how many episodes?
Oh, you are shooting the 24th.
Oh, amazing.
Like first year completion. So I do 2 podcasts in a month, and this is my 24th episode.
So why did you start podcasting? And
See, basically, very similar to what you said, right? So first of all, it was more like a DIY project. The fundamental aspect was to hear it from the best, and I think one of the primary motivation was to learn more about case studies, learn more about how things have been applied, right? Because I have had my own journey, but product is something where each one of us can tell the same theory in a very different way, because we have our own unique experiences, right? So my journey of podcast was to hear their experiences, hear their journeys, and take these examples back to the class, the selfish motto of that. But coming back to your question, I think it has been a very, very exhilarating journey. It kind of has seen those blips of maturity where we started it from a do-it-yourself project. We kind of revamped ourselves, because when I launched, it was called as Level Up Broadcast. I did not even think about the SEO. I did not even think about the outreach and stuff like that, distribution or things like that. And then we launched ourselves with Product Talk with Malti. Then we were doing all online thing. We started doing more shots and stuff like that. And last 5-6 episode, we have matured from being a pure online to a offline podcast. And I can't tell you the impact. Of course, I hear it from my listeners and audience that the product, the quality has gone huge notches. But personally, for me, I think the conversations have had a much deeper impact on me, and I think I have started to foster much deeper relationships and conversations with my guests. So it has.
There's one more question I have for you. So what is that you have learned beyond products through this podcasting?
A lot. Making a podcasting, I did not even think has so many phases. Like, for the pre-production, the whole kind of research that goes on. So I need to be also just going back to, once you do it versus you learn, do it for your audience, it has a lot of this thing. So there is a pre-production part of it. Then there is this whole production part of it, right? There were so many tools. For example, a tool like Riverside. I did not know editing and stuff. There could be magic that can be created. And then there is this whole last part of it where it is about, distribution, social media. So if you ask me, tremendous amount of learning around distribution, marketing, building something, because this is like a product itself, right? A brand new product. And then the speakers who are coming, what is in it for them? And I think the most important thing is that constantly when I'm doing, keeping that audience at the center of it. why am I doing this episode? What questions should I ask? What are the key takeaways that they can have from this particular episode, right? So those have been the questions that I keep bringing in, just like how build my product I've been trying to. So it has been a huge learning curve, and I'm hoping that we continue to do this many more episodes.
So what can we expect in 2025?
I think 2025, I would see much more diverse set of speakers. Like you, I have had some brilliant panel of speakers come in so far, many of them very dear friends. So I would look at, broadening the horizons of what product talk is, probably make it more phygital, probably get much more analytics, marketing, because we are now touching, I think, a much broader set of things. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that, and probably do more global, do more live sessions. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Amazing.
Thank you. So I hope that was such a wonderful conversations, and thank you, Saurabh. Saurabh has been, I would say he's my industry mentor to tell me about how to do it on social media. A little bit, I am kind of tapping onto his marketing tips. That has helped me personally a lot. So thank you, Saurabh, for doing that.
Great.
And thank you for being here and sharing a lot of those great...
Yeah, it has been fun for me to come on this podcast, and more than the process of coming on, because when we connected, we spoke a lot. I watched your podcast, understood the world of products, opened up a new audience for myself. Ki, okay, product analytics is a great thing, and wherever I'm going, it's in my mind. So what we can do. So
Sure.
Looking forward to collaborating further, and all the best.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yes, I'm sure there are much more that we could offer to our audience. So looking forward to that.
Thank you.
Thank you.